So hi guys, I wanted to record another video and I wanted to talk about the story that I almost finishing. Like I'm really close. I just have to edit the last 3 chapters and then do the editorial design. So I'm hoping that will take me about 2 to 3 weeks. But anyway, like I said, I want to talk about my story and I thought to do something in the meantime. So I will be drawing on my iPad and I will be showing you my progress. It isn't going to be anything like too fancy or anything, like I just want to do something while talking and like be very easy on myself and not expect anything like super pretty, super perfect or anything like that. So this is going to be a very chill video, maybe with a nice background music. So yeah, I hope you stay with me, have a little fun time together or a very relaxing time. I want to start, I don't know what size do I want. I think 6 by 9 white canvas. Let's see, I'm gonna choose a background color. So I'm learning Procreate and I think it's like the best app for drawing so far. Not that I have tried too many, but I like it very much and I think it's super worth it, especially because you only need to pay once. So I love that because yearly subscriptions are so not my thing. I hate them. I don't know why they exist. Adobe. Okay, this is the background color that I chose. It's kind of a very soft green and we'll start. So one of the things that I thought were very important to me were writing about some of my experiences and my culture and where I am from. I am Mexican and I wanted to represent that with my work, but I didn't want it to be like a history book or anything like that. So I actually first started writing or tried to write steampunk, and that was a complete fail because I realized that the more I wrote, I had no steampunk elements, and when I tried to add them, it just wasn't working. Like it felt way too forced, and so that's why I decided to go with just fantasy. And I really like the genre, so it wasn't like that hard to make that decision to just like change genres. And it was like in the first like 2 chapters I was like yeah, the steampunk thing isn't really working. So yeah, I just started writing fantasy and I came up with 2 main things that I wanted to write about. One was religion, that is like this huge part in Mexico. Again, I wanted to be inspired by my country, and religion in here is huge. Like Catholicism is like the main religion here, and I was raised Catholic, but I don't know, like I started changing my views when I was about 15 years old, and I've been through a lot of like self-reflection, and right now I don't know exactly what my religion is. I do believe in something, but nothing in particular really. And when you are not, you really see like how big of an impact the religion has had in the country. So I wanted to write about religion, and it is slightly inspired in Catholicism, but not quite, like it's not it exactly. So I have that, and my character also has like this moment of having to come up with terms that maybe the whole thing that she was taught during her life might be not exactly the whole truth, but like a very sanitized version of how things really are. And like I said, it's loosely inspired by Catholicism, but it's not Catholicism. It's a religion of its own. And the other thing that I wanted to address was the high criminal rates of the city where I live. So those are my 2 main components, and not every city is going to have like this huge themes regarding robberies and assault and kidnappings and anything like that. I did want to address that in my story, and of course I made an exaggerated version of how things are where I live for the sake of the story and make it more interesting. But yeah, so main things are criminality and religion, and how my character has to adapt to this world, like how she grew up in all of this, and then things change for the worst, and how she has to learn how to survive in this new environment. And since it's fantasy, I did want to add a lot of magical elements to it. By the way, this is where I'm at. I'm just adding some like foliage in here. I hope the reflection is not too bad. Like you can see some leaves in here, the foliage and everything. I don't know if you can see it. I hope so. If not, I will show you like a better, like a close-up of the whole thing so you can see. So another thing that I added that I wanted to add, like it has nothing to do with Mexican culture, are stars. So I invented, like I said, my own religion based on Catholicism, and in my world, 2015 years ago, I think. I don't have the exact number like at the top of my head, but there was this country with a lot of gods and goddesses. There were gods for rain, for harvesting, for love, for war, for bravery, and then something happened. Like in this story, this god that wasn't worshipped by this culture showed up and talked to the people back then, like I said, more than 2,000 years ago, and he basically said, I am the only god, you are only going to obey me, all the other gods are false. And so to make them believe in him, this god made 50 stars fall from the sky, or that's what he called them, and that's what made everyone believe they were. So he made them fall, and he was like, if you don't obey me, if you don't follow my new rules, you're going to be punished. And so everything had to change, and the people back then made those necessary changes not to be punished by this god. So they abandoned all their previous beliefs. They started worshipping this one god that they only refer to as God now, and they, like I said, abandoned everything else because they were scared of the consequences. And there are consequences that aren't quite talked about in my first book, not in the beginning, but they are certainly addressed by the end because it's supposed to be a secret. Like the people back then made kind of a pact to keep a lot of things secret because they thought it would be like the easiest thing to do. So with the years, a lot of things start changing, and the stars became like something very, very, very important because they were a gift from their new god and from their true god. Because all the other gods had never like spoken in such an open way to the people, like so everyone could hear their message. So they were like, no, they never like responded to us like this. So this must be real. And so they all heard it, they all saw the stars falling from the sky, and so religion changed to, only this one God being the true God, and they had like this method of making everyone believe in the new God, like destroying everything that was before it, because a lot of people didn't believe in this new God, like, there are always going to be people that will be immediately in for it, and people hesitant to change because it's everything you knew, like the gods you had. So things had to change, and these stars are very, very important, and so they try their best to get them all and secure them. And like I said, they started destroying every evidence of there ever being other gods before this one. And it was like very, very bloody. It was pretty much a war of like how things were going to be and the people trying to resist it. It lasted quite a few years, but in the end, since stars were this really powerful sign and everything, they got to convert most people, not all of them, and it's something that I want to talk about in my second book, because there's going to be a resistance. I want to talk about people that never really gave up their beliefs, because it's something that they grew up with and was close to them, close to their heart, close to their soul, so they never really quite wanted to leave that behind, and they try to keep those beliefs alive in any way they could. But again, it's something that is going to be talked about in the future. Here, showing you my leaves. Here, ta-da! Yeah, this is where I'm at. So, my main character is called Clover. She's 16 years old and she works as a maid. Her mother is a maid and her father works in this factory. She doesn't have a lot of money, and actually there's like this very huge gap between the people that have money, the people that are kind of mid-class, that are actually closer to poverty, and then poor people. So she's kind of in the middle, but again closer to poverty. And her dream is to leave Aurora because she wants peace of mind, because things in there aren't really that good. Like, she doesn't feel safe. She has seen a lot of crime happening, a lot of dead bodies on the street, and like, people have tried to come to the authorities and ask for answers, like, why is our city this bad? And they are all like, just trust us, trust in God, things are the way they are for a purpose, right? But the thing is, there are people high up that have their own goals and their own rules, and they are doing the thing they are doing for the greater good, because that's what they think. They're pretty much leaving the city to rot, and basically things are pretty bad where she lives. And again, this is something that I inspired on my own story, because for a long time all I wanted was to leave my own city behind, right? Because I didn't feel safe in it. There were a lot of things that happened that I won't get too deep into, but really made me feel unsafe. And so I made that my character's main goal too, and I think that's where the resemble, like, with me and my main character ends. But like, it being a fantasy story, I had to make it way more interesting, and I had to add a lot of things. For example, my main character at some point in the story, actually in the first chapter, so I don't think that's a spoiler, but she gets kidnapped and then she's experimented on, and the consequence of that is that she gains magical abilities. So now she has to deal with that new information that she gets, because she didn't know magic existed in her world. And it's kind of hard on her, because now she's a fugitive, because she's supposed to be dead, right? But someone rescues her because sees some potential in her, but she can't return to her family. And actually, this being a YA story, her parents aren't dead, although they aren't with her during the progress of the story, but they aren't dead. So that's a change. And I thought about it, about having no parents, but I don't know, like, it didn't feel right for me, and so I let them live for now. And yeah, that's something, right? That's, yay, a YA story with parents that aren't dead. She didn't know about people being experimented on, people being used, and they are using pretty much the religion to do all of these things, right? Like, as an excuse. So she's very angry. She kind of stops believing, and forces herself to stop believing. But it's very difficult for her, because again, it's something that she was taught her whole life to believe in this God, and now she's like, okay, God is supposed to be giving and loving, and then why is this happening to me? So she's not only trying to get to know herself during this very difficult time, because now she cannot go back home because she's changed, and if the people that changed her know that she's alive, they will try to kill her, and possibly try to kill her parents too if she goes back home, because again, she now knows things that she isn't supposed to, and she is a danger to these people that want to keep the whole thing a secret. But yes, they've been kidnapping people, especially kids, from the streets to experiment on them while they tell the police to just look the other way and just say that they are looking and everything, but all these kids that are eventually found are found dead. By the way, I'm so sorry about the background noise. It's super noisy. There's some construction going on, so hopefully it won't be too loud, but it's pretty much going on all day, so I don't have any other time to film, so I'm very sorry. I'll try my best to edit the sound out. So I don't really remember how I came up with stars being like one of the protagonists of my book, because I did want to make them very important. I don't know, I think I just like the idea of it. And for example, in my book, God is represented by the sun, and the stars are a representation of the love of the people for that God, because that was a gift to the people. So in my book they also have like this symbol on their neck. It's a flat circle made of silver with lines intersected in the middle that represent the stars, and it's called the grieving star because it's the day that love showed himself to them, and they are supposed to be like, humble and patient and loving and kind and feeling guilty for worshipping other gods before him. So that's called the grieving star, like the pendant they're wearing. So some of those are my main points, and my character goes through this: is this real, is this not real, what should I believe in? Like, I've been lied to a lot and now I realize it, so she has to come up with terms with that, like not everything was true, not everything was told to her and to everyone, and now she has to find out the truth. And also, when she was taken from the street market, her friend was taken too. And my character is a morally great character, like the only thing she cared about was herself and her family, and that's because she grew up in this very dangerous world, and she's scared for the life of her parents. The only thing she wants is to escape, and she believes that once she's out of Aurora, that's the name of her city, or Aurora in Spanish, like she thinks that the only way she can be free is to escape, and she believes that once she's out of there, she will let herself be friendly and have maybe a boyfriend or a relationship. And this is a very conservative country, right? It's like you are not allowed to just date, like you have to be with the man you want to marry. If you want a relationship, this has to be it. Like, you cannot just have any guy, you have to save yourself and everything like that. So pretty much like this country is run by the church and the government. Like, they do have a pact. They work together. And so she's like, okay, I cannot be myself. I cannot have a family of my own. I cannot, live without fear until I'm out of here. But then when she's kidnapped and she figures out a lot of the things that have been happening, she doesn't feel free anywhere. And she has to travel because her friend that was taken too, it's now being held captive in another part of the country. And when she, realizes a lot of the things that have been going on behind the scenes, she knows that she's been lied to a lot, and she doesn't know what else she doesn't know. So she has to figure out what is happening, all while trying to find out where her friend is. And it's really hard for her because all she knew while growing up was the church and whatever was told to her. Like, we are supposed to protect you, we are supposed to let you know the truth, we are supposed to tell you, like, the word, like why we are how we are. And actually there aren't many technological advancements in that city and in the whole country, because again they believe that science is a way to defy God. So there aren't any telephones, and so they pretty much live surrounded by candlelight and gas lamps and all of that. Like, in their schools, they don't really want the people to start thinking for themselves. By the way, this is how the drawing is going. There's some roses and stuff. I don't know if you can see them, but here they are. So in schools they teach about sewing, growing crops, cleaning, worshiping God, and stuff like that. They really don't teach about reading or writing or anything. And there are people that have the opportunity to learn that, but those are very, very private schools with people with a lot of money. For example, my main character doesn't know how to read or write. Like, she knows a few words, but it's really hard for her to understand like a whole paragraph. And at some point her father tried to pay lessons for her, but she knew like they didn't have enough money for that and they were going to be really, really tight. And so she decided that it wasn't something that was going to really help her, because she knew she was going to be a maid her whole life anyway. So she was like, I don't want that. It's going to be wasted on me. And later on she regrets that. But yeah, at that time she was very against it. So anyway, all of this happens where she can't go back home anymore, and she decides to go and find the truth and go and find her friends. And it's really this period of her trying to find herself again, especially in this new situation that is very traumatic. And she's 16, she's very young, and she still misses her parents, and she wishes that the things that she's going through never happened to her at all. But you cannot change the past, and it's something that she knows. I think she's very mature for her age, but she's still also she's very stubborn. So it's really hard for her to come up with terms with her new reality, the new things that are happening, and she just tries to blame everything on other people. So there's a lot of growth for her, and also she learns about the bad things that she was taught. For example, colorism is also big in my world, where white is worshipped, mainly because white is thought to be the color of purity. So like, the whiter you look, the better you are. That's what everyone believes, and it's also something that it's very common here in Mexico, where people with light skin are treated better than those that don't have as much of a paler skin tone, and that is kind of stupid. I go through that in my book, like I said, and she has tan skin, so she has to, it's one of the things that she learned, that she was lied about so many things, and she wonders, hey, maybe I was lied about the skin tone stuff too, because it doesn't make sense, right? Like, okay, let's say white is the color of purity. When was it decided that it applied to skin tone too, especially when it's something that you cannot change? And here I'm gonna kind of quote something from Attack on Titan. I've been watching some reactions to it because I really, really enjoyed it. And there's this character that is black, and you have this group of people on the island. I'm not gonna spoil a lot, but they all pretty much look the same, and they had never seen a person with a black skin tone. So someone asked, hey, why do you look the way you do? And some people gasp, like, how dare you ask that question? And he answers, well, there are many types of people here, many types of skin tone, because if God made us this way, it means we are wanted. And I was like, oh damn, that's a really good explanation. And it was kind of wholesome and true also, because yes, if you are here, if you exist, you are wanted. And it's something also that my character learns, not exactly in those words and not exactly in that way, but she learns that if maybe this whole thing about white not being applied to skin had been a thing, maybe things would have been different, like people will feel wanted, will feel whole, and they will feel like they wouldn't feel like they are worthy of love or of respect. But yeah, sadly it is a thing when they start to take things out of context. She talks about how in the book it was talked about white being the color of purity, but it was never referred to it regarding skin color. Like, yes, sadly in this world skin tone does matter, but like, it doesn't define you as a person, even though a lot of people will think otherwise. Like, we know that's not how it works, and that's what matters. Even if the world does treat us differently, we know who we are, and hopefully in the future it will change. And she didn't think so, and maybe it won't actually ever 100%, but it should matter to you, like, who you are and what you believe in and how you treat others. Like that's what is important. And you know, being taught certain things your whole life that not necessarily, you know, reflect your worth, your values, who you are. Like for example, she also believes like there's either this religion and nothing else, and after a lot of events happen to her, she starts thinking that maybe it's everything or nothing. Like either there's this God that they have talked to us about, or there's no God at all, because again she doesn't know about the past. Like everything about those other gods was raised, and so it was never spoken about at all. So she doesn't know that there were other gods before this one. So yeah, those are the main points in my book, and I didn't talk a lot about the magic system in my world, so I think I will save that for another video. And this is my drawing. Again, I just did some roses in here with some petals falling and everything, and that was it. And I will keep you guys updated. I think I should like show my drawing like this. Ta-da. Okay, is this okay? Thank you so much guys for being with me. So sorry about the background noise, and yeah, I will be talking to you soon, so bye.